Hey, what's going on? Justin here with Engage Marketing. And in this video, we're going to do a quick run through of a Google Ads account audit. And the whole topic here is really that on the front end of things with a brand new account, Google Ads using broad match keywords suck. There's really no other way to put it. The reason being is because these are brand new accounts on Google. If you've got a brand new account with zero data in here, Google doesn't really have a whole lot to go by. So your first 4, 6, 8 weeks, maybe even longer, depending on the area of the competition, are going to be a lot of optimization time and really a lot of data gathering to see what Google is feeding into the account and really making your adjustments based on that data that comes in. So with a brand new account, Google does not have that data. Their algorithms and their backend software can't really make adjustments for you, again, because there's nothing there to make adjustments on. So we have to be patient. That's one thing we come across with a lot of clients is they say, we've done Google Ads in the past and they just didn't work or they were too expensive. And then when we get into the deeper aspects of it, a lot of times those campaigns just really ran long enough. They may have been ran for just a few weeks or even a little bit longer, right? But either that or they weren't set up correctly. So what we have on the screen is a perfect example of a campaign that just was not really set up correctly. This is a client that we did an audit for. They had ran previously in the past for about 2 or 3 months, I believe, ad campaigns targeting dental implants out in the California area. So we already know off the bat, targeting dental implants, which is a higher ticket treatment cost, with our average value being anywhere from $20,000 to $30,000 for each customer. We know that that cost per click and that cost per conversion is already going to be higher. So we're already expecting that. However, if we're looking at this page now, we can see this client spent over here on the right side roughly just under $4,000. And I believe this was about, I want to say about 4 to 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks tops. So a little less than 2 months into this, which again, not really enough time to get everything fully optimized. However, we certainly should have seen some types of results or at least some better data than what we have on the screen. And when we dive deeper, right, it boils down to how the campaign was set up, which goes back to the original topic. Broad match keywords are not the way to go if you have a brand new account, because again, we don't have that data there. And Google is going to go out and target what they think people are looking for, right? And it's not necessarily going to match what your actual search terms are that you are wanting to show up for your target and ideal customer. So for example, over here in the screen, we've got our ad group showing up. We had, it looks like the client had 4 ad groups on here targeting dental implants. This is fine for the most part. Depending on the budget, we may have had 1 or 2 ad groups, but again, not a huge deal here. But the bigger issue is once we start to look at the conversions, cost per conversions, clicks, etc., right? So we can already see our CTR, which is our click-through rate, is a bit low. We've got 1.3, 2.45 being our highest. We would ideally like to see this number higher here. And then our conversion rate, certainly we would like to see that higher as well here. We've got 1% here, 20%. That's a great one. However, once we dive a little bit deeper, we'll see that that's not actually relevant. Okay. So top here, we can see that we had this ad group spent $1,500 and got 1 conversion. So they paid $1,500 for 1 lead, right? A conversion is a lead in this case. It could be a phone call or a lead form submission or a booked appointment, whatever our target conversion goal is there. And I believe for this client, it was form fills and phone calls. So they paid $1,500 for 1 lead, okay? And if we look at the other ad groups, the one just below it, this ad group spent $1,100, 0 conversions. The bottom ad group, $283 with 2 conversions, so $141 per conversion. And the one that looks like performed the best got 9 conversions, spent about $1,000 for our cost per conversion of about $114 per conversion. Again, for implants in a targeted area, a highly competitive area like California, we can expect those numbers to be, over $100, right? That's not abnormal. Again, depending on your area, your competition level, etc. You got to think about all the other practices or competitors around you bidding for those same keywords. The more competitive, right, the more saturated the area is, the higher those bids are typically going to be, and the higher that the average customer value is for these specific terms, that's going to have a big impact on what these cost per clicks and conversions are going to be as well. So diving into this a bit further, right, we can say, okay, 1 conversion, $1,500, that's not good, right? Well, let's look at a better one. What we see to be the best performing ad group, 9 conversions, 115 bucks. Looks good from the outside. So let's dive into the actual ad group and look at what keywords we're targeting. Okay, so we've got the ad group keywords pulled up in here, and we can see that enabled, paused, all these were ones that were enabled, and we've got 3, 6, about 7 keywords in here. And we can see that majority of them, 6 out of 7, are phrase match keywords, and we have 1 broad match keyword. Now, you have 3 different match types. You have broad match, you have phrase match, and you have exact match. I'm not going to go too far into the details here on this video. However, broad match, we can look at that as the most broad, pretty self-explanatory. That is the most loosely based targeting that we're going to give Google. Phrase match is kind of an in-between, and exact match means we're giving Google an exact keyword, and we want Google to find keywords that are basically exactly the same or very, very, very close, okay? So here's the problem. Again, when we start with a broad match keyword, that's broad, right? Google with 0 data in the account or very little does not necessarily know which types of keywords to relate to that broad match keyword that you're putting in there. And we can see that as a perfect example up here at the top. So the keyword that was put in for broad match was dentist that does dental implants near me. Sounds like a great term, right? Something that we would want to target, that consumers may be looking for, that Google should be out and be able to go and say, hey, this client wants to show up for dentist that does dental implants near me. Let's find some other relevant keywords and people who are searching for similar keywords. And we can see that that's the one which brought 9 conversions at $100 per conversion. We see the phrase match ones on here that are going to be a little bit more specific. Dental implants, dentist nearby, dental implant specialist near me, etc. Again, this is kind of that medium level. We don't see any exact match keywords on here, which we definitely would have done. So I would have started this campaign as it being a brand new one with multiple exact match keywords, depending on what our keyword research showed. And we would have some phrase match in here as well. And then once the data starts to come in over a few weeks, we would start to make adjustments on those keywords, taking some out, adding some in, etc. Well, with this account, whoever was running it before, right, went ahead and just put some phrase match. Again, that's fine, but put a broad match on here. And we can see the downside that this caused, right? The traffic that came in was just not relevant. So 9 conversions, $107 cost per conversion, looks great on the outside. Well, now let's dive a little bit deeper and see what search terms actually brought in these conversions. So if we click over here on the checkbox, that's going to select our broad match keyword. And if we click on search terms, this is going to show us the keywords that actually showed up, right? What people saw when they were searching, what they typed in or what they clicked on, keywords that led to the click to our ad and cost us money. So over here on the right side, I've got this sorted by cost. So we can see we've got 9 or 10 keywords in here, and each one of these specific keywords have cost us anywhere from $20 to $100. So the very top one up here, Oasis Dental Mission Viejo. That's not this client. That is a competitor, okay? Dr. Lisa, another competitor. Bay Dental, competitor. Ultimed, competitor. Western Dental, competitor. All of these terms that showed up from that broad match keyword that the client put in are all competitor terms. They are irrelevant to the client. When we're on a brand new campaign, we don't want to be, for local service-based businesses, especially from the get-go, there's no reason really to target competitor keywords. Because if someone's online searching for Bay Dental in Santa Ana, they're already looking for Bay Dental in Santa Ana, right? Just because your ad shows up, they're not going to say, oh, I want to contact this practice because their ad's showing up. I'm not really looking for my specific practice, Bay Dental. I'm going to go to this one instead, right? If they're looking for Bay Dental, they already know what they're looking for, okay? So there's no reason we should be targeting competitor terms. We're not specifically targeting those, but since it is a broad match keyword, that is why these terms are showing up. Now, if we look at this, yes, that was excluded. So that is another step we would want to be doing. If we see keywords here that are not relevant, that are bringing in traffic or clicks and impressions, we want to make sure we include those or exclude those as negative keywords so that they don't show up in the future. So if we look at this here, right, Oasis Dental, That brought in 1 click. That 1 click cost $120. And yes, it produced a conversion. We can see over here 1 conversion. So what happened was, most likely, the client typed in, or excuse me, the lead, the contact, the customer typed in Oasis Dental Mission Viejo, or dentist near me, or something along those terms, and something fired for that broad match. And this is what popped up. They saw the ad, they clicked on it thinking that they were calling or clicking on the ad for Oasis Dental Mission Viejo. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. It went to this client's practice. And so the client bounced off and the customer bounced off and it was a wrong number, right? It was a wasted click. And so that's what happened with all these clicks on this page. And so if we're looking at this as an overall view, we can see that there were multiple clicks in here. Each one of these terms got 1 click apiece. Again, they were all competitors, irrelevant to our specific client. And they spent $660 on all these clicks, expensive clicks that were irrelevant to what they're actually targeting. So in essence, this was a waste of money, okay? Yes, it produced some data, right? Now we can come in and add all these terms as negative keywords. However, because it was a broad match from the get-go, Google is showing our ad pretty freely out there, right? And some of these, we just have dental in here, dental, right? Dental again, because we're targeting dental implants. And again, because it's broad, Google is finding other similar terms that have dental in them or dentist in them, which we don't want to be targeting, right? So we spent $650. So this client spent $650 on this specific keyword, which brought them nothing at the end of the day. So let's bounce back. And we can see the broad match again. That's the one we were just looking at. That's the one that cost all the money for that account. For this ad group, $965. All the phrase match ones in here, again, which I'm fine with adding those in from the get-go. That's what we want to be doing, phrase match and exact match. The downside is none of these actually spent any money, right? They weren't getting any impressions. They didn't spend any money because the broad match took all of the traffic, because Google sees in its algorithm that, yes, this keyword is generating conversions. So we're going to start using this keyword more than the other one showing up here. No matter, right, if it's a waste or not, because Google doesn't know that, okay? Now, if we look at some of these other keywords on here, all right, or other ad groups on here, they're all going to be the same, okay? So $1,500 on this ad group, $1,100 on this ad group, $1,000 on this ad group. Well, let's just go into the top one here. And this was dental implants in general. Again, I'm not quite sure the overall approach with this specific account, because all these keywords that they were targeting are pretty similar. So it looks like this one is a little bit more specific. And again, this is what we would be doing from the get-go. Local dental implants near me, specials near me. I don't know that I would do specials in there because that's going to bring in your tire kickers and your price shoppers. Dental implants, Irvine. These are all phrase match, right? These are the ones that we want to be targeting from the get-go. Some of these got some impressions, but we can see that these two at the top got a lot of that ad spend here as well. And again, broad match. Dental implants clinic, dental implant specialist near me. If we look at the search terms that were actually showing up and being clicked on now, we can see the exact same situation on the other ad group we just looked at. All these are broad match. West Coast Dental, dental open near me. That would be relevant if it was a general family practice, right? Since we're targeting dental implants, not necessarily relevant here for that. Arcadia Dental Group, Glidewell, Aspen, these are all, again, competitors. Okay, and we can see that we generated clicks on all these competitor listings. Those clicks were $30, $24, $15, $10, right? All those add up over time. So at the end of the day, right, when we look at this account, it didn't take too long to figure out where the account went wrong. And again, we can realistically expect 4 to 6 weeks before we're really starting to make larger optimizations and adjustments, because we want to give Google enough time to bring data into that account. Now, if we have a higher ad budget and we're spending several $100s per day, that data is going to roll in much quicker. On smaller budgets that are $1,000, $1,500, even up to $3,000 a month, that data is going to roll in much slower. And obviously that's going to depend on the competition size and the saturation as well. So we have to make sure that we give Google enough time to gather that data. Okay. But again, with this account, it didn't take long to figure out where the mess up was. Would I have expected multiple conversions over the first 4 weeks? Probably, we wouldn't have seen 10, right? We may have seen 1 or 2, but those conversions that came through are going to be much more relevant, and we're going to get better data because we would have used exact match and phrase match versus broad match overall. So at the end of the day, when we're looking at this account and doing the audit, right, this is one of the things we look at. We look at the keywords that are being targeted and how they're set up, what kind of data is coming through. With this account, again, almost $4,000 in ad spend. However, we can see that the majority of these were set to broad match, and the traffic that came through was broad, according to what the data shows. We got some conversions. However, the conversions were not relevant to the actual client. So at the end of the day, client spent about $4,000, didn't really get much from it. We had 12 conversions on here. I don't know that any of these were actually a relevant conversion for the client that led to anything more than a wrong number call because, again, we were targeting broad match keywords. So hopefully this was helpful. There are plenty of videos out there. We've got some other ones too, going over exact match, phrase match, broad match keywords, adding negative keywords, your basic targeting, etc. But when you're doing an audit, even if you've got another company or an agency handling Google Ads for you, make sure that you are looking at the data, because this client could have gotten a report that showed they got 12 conversions and it cost $330 per conversion. Again, for implants, that might not be bad, right? Because that average patient value could be $50,000. So yes, I'm willing to spend $300 for a potential customer that might bring me 50 grand in revenue. Okay. So the client sees this report and says, okay, we got 12 conversions, $330. We spent $4 grand. Cool. I'm good with that. Let's do it another month. And then the next month is the same. Great. Looks good. Keep going. Right. But in reality, those 12 conversions were all wrong number phone calls. So make sure that you are looking into these data points if you're running your ads on yourself or by yourself, or if you have someone else running your ads. Make sure you know exactly where your conversions are coming from, and that the agency or the company is not trying to fluff their numbers up a bit and make them look better than they actually are. So hopefully this video was helpful. Any questions, shoot us a message, drop us a comment, and we'll go from there. Thanks.